Hi friends, welcome to the Unit 4A Day 7 notes. This notes covers the last part of the Unit 4A. This one really hits on an idea called CPCTC, which we'll get to here shortly. First, let's review the 5 triangle congruence theorems and postulates, the 5 that you know, and pause the video and write them down, and then let's see if we get them right. All right, so here they are. We have side, side, side. The next one we talked about was side, angle, side. Then we talked about hypotenuse, leg. We also talked about angle, angle, side. And angle, side, angle. So what about CPCTC? Well, CPCTC is an acronym, should have the word acronym there, oops, acronym, for the phrase corresponding, or Mr. Brumman, sorry, spelling, it's my weakness, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So what we want to do is we want to prove that the corresponding parts of triangles are congruent. We can show that if the triangles are congruent, then all of the corresponding parts are congruent. And that kind of makes sense. If you have two things that are congruent to one another, as soon as you say that they're congruent, then all of their parts are congruent. So example 1 says list all the pairs of angles and the sides that are congruent based on the given congruent statement and the figure. This is also review. Feel free to pause the video and attempt this. Know that I'm going to go in the order that it has. All right. So with this being said, we've talked about in a previous video how I write sides and angles underneath. And I do that just to help me keep track of everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, for sides C to D, I'm going to put one congruency mark here. And then the same for F to G. So one congruency mark here. So it's 1, 1. Then from D to E, I'm going to put 2. D to E, I'm going to put 2. And then G to H, I put 2. And then I can leave that third part blank, but I want to show that everything is congruent. So I'm actually going to put 3 here, 2, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the angles as well. So 1, 2, 3. I'll just do that instead. I think that's what I decided to fall back on because it fit better. Learn things as I'm going through and doing it again. And then 2 for D, and then 2 for G, and then 3 for E, 2, 3, and then 3 for H, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now I've constructed it. Now I need to write the statements. So the statements, let's do the angles first. So angle C is congruent to angle F. Angle D is congruent to angle G. Angle E is congruent to angle H. And then, now let's do the sides. So let's start with CD. Segment CD is congruent to segment FG. Segment DE is congruent to segment GH, and segment EC is congruent to segment HF. They're the sides. Here at the bottom, just a quick review of the different types of congruence theorem and postulates, just like we talked about at the very top of the page. Again, review. Feel free to pause the video, attempt it yourself, and then we'll fill it in. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This first one is angle, angle, side. The second one is angle, side, angle. The third one here is side, angle, side. This one, side, side, side. Then this last one is hypotenuse, leg. So those are the 5. Now some examples. So what we want to do is we want to write the triangle congruent statement, or sorry, given this triangle congruent statement, we're going to prove it by CPCTC But first we need to prove that the two triangles are congruent, so we need to figure out what postulate or theorem we would use in that case. So in this example, I want to say that the side of BC is congruent to the side of AD. Now it's going to be because of corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, or CPCTC. But what we first need to figure out is what theorem or postulate can I use to prove that the triangles are congruent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write on each of these some additional information that I know if there's any additional ones that are not given. For example, in these two sets of triangles, I know that those two segments are congruent. Since these are congruent, what I have is side, angle, side, side, angle, side. So this is side, angle, side. So because I know that this is side, angle, side for this one, then I know, because of this, then I know that BC is congruent. Segment BC is congruent to segment AD because of corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, or CPCTC. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now give you the triangles that are congruent. So again, we're going to have to put the triangles in the correct order. So this is so if I do ABC, triangle ABC for this one, I'm going to say that's congruent to triangle. So I start at the right angle. So I'm going to start at the right angle for this one. C, go along the first recorded segment length. So D, then the only choice left there is A. So that's the way that I would notate this. If I was trying to say, like, first I need to prove it by the triangles are congruent, and then by the segment. For this next one, what we have listed is we have, let's see, we have angle, angle, side. Yeah, angle, angle, side. So if you're here, I'm going to say that triangle, yeah, I can just follow the order. So I can just follow the order that we have for here, because we're talking about the same corresponding angles. So because it's telling us that this is congruent, and we're going to show it, so this is by angle, angle, side, then I know that angle TSU is congruent to angle VSU by CPCTC. And then for 3, again, we have these two, same segment there, it's reflexive property of equality. So having segment BD is congruent to segment BD. So then I know again, triangle, and I can do the same thing here, ADD, spelling ADB is congruent to triangle CBD, there we go, by side, side, side. That means that angle AD, did it again. My brain is moving too fast, is congruent, angle CBD, there we go. And then that's by CPCTC. So first I have to prove that the triangles are congruent, then I can say that the parts are. Now for these last two. So this one is a little bit tricky because we actually have this overlapping part right here. And we know because of this overlapping part that these two parts are actually, it's the same with one another. So GH is the same as HG. So because of that, what I actually have here, but with the triangles, is I have this side here, this side here is the same as this side here. So this side from N to H is equivalent to from G to T. So I'm left with angle, angle, side. And so I'm going to have triangle KHN is congruent to triangle MGT by angle, angle, side. And then I can say angle KHN is congruent to angle MGT by CPCTC. This last one is very similar to that one that we just did, because the sides, because this segment ED is congruent with itself. What I have is this triangle from ABD is the same as CBE. So what I need to show then, so triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBE by, so what I have is I have an angle, side, and then angle for both. And then I can say that segment BD is congruent to segment BE, and that's by CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Thank you all for joining us for Unit 4A. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, friends.